From there, the scrap rate, oh, by the way, each line represents one machine. So this was a test run on 2 different machines at the same time. So on the one line, they had a scrap rate of 18%. On the other line, they had a scrap rate of about 7%. After starting, in this case Asaclean, but the most important thing is they started using specific purging procedures. And in the case of Asaclean, we were able to bring their scrap rate down initially to the 1.8 to 2.5% range. But what's interesting here is they continue to use the product, they continue to follow the procedures. Eventually, in March, you can see their scrap rates were down to less than 1%. This is a chart that they gave us. We didn't know they were doing this. We didn't know how they were measuring it. We had given them the sample, we were following up. Then one day they emailed us and said, here's the results. As you can imagine, the savings were significant. So what I'd like to be able to give you today to take home is, if you have high scrap rates, this is achievable. We can't guarantee these results in every application. There's no guarantees. Every application is different by machine, resin, and so forth, but you can improve. So the hows of purging. What are we really talking about? Generally speaking, when you're talking about purge, there's 3 major categories: color change, material change, deposit removal. When you're talking about a mechanical purge compound, you're really scrubbing. You're really cleaning the machine in a mechanical way, like I mentioned before, not in a chemical reaction process. So in order to maximize that cleaning, what you want to do is use high pressure, high agitation, and high speed. You can think about like cleaning anything. If you're cleaning dishes, you're scrubbing, you're using high speed, you're using pressure. Washing clothes, windows, injection molding machine. It's the same principle in a mechanical cleaning process. So whatever our cleaning application is, we want to maximize specifically those 3 things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to do so in your particular application. So injection molding. The first part, injection molding on the left. Generally speaking, it's a little bit easier in an injection molding process to maximize those 3 processes: high speed, high agitation, and high pressure. So the first thing we want to do is keep that screw forward. Why? Because a lot of the hang-up in an injection molding machine is going to happen at the nozzle area. So if you're using a purge compound to clean that machine, you want to seat that screw as far forward as possible so that when it's turning, it's creating pressure and agitation in that nozzle area. If the screw is not forward, if it's back here and it's turning, you're going to get very little pressure, very little agitation in that front area. So it's important, where possible, put your back pressure all the way up, get that screw all the way forward. Now, we do often hear from our customers, we can't keep back pressure up. When we try to do that, the screw floats back. Okay, it happens a lot. One trick that we found to keep that screw forward is to set your shot size at 0 or near 0. By doing so, the machine will understand it's only pulling the screw back this far to make a shot, and that way you can keep that screw forward. So that's the first part of injection molding when you're cleaning the screw and barrel. Second part, high screw speed. Of course, high safe screw speed. And you guys know your machines better than anyone. So make sure that you're using a speed that's going to generate as much pressure and agitation as possible. So with that high screw speed, you're going to get a lot of agitation at the front of that nozzle, all along the screw and in the barrel. And then finally, short shots. So at the end of, what we recommend to do is you're extruding the purge compound through your screw and barrel at high speed, high pressure with the screw forward. Once that extrudate comes out clean and it appears that you removed all the contaminants, the previous resin in your machine, to do short shots. Pull the screw back and do several short shots. What will happen there is those short shots will really increase the velocity, the pressure, the speed, agitation at the front of that machine. So you'll clean the check ring, you'll clean the nozzle, you'll really get that front area clean, which is really, again, a troublesome area because a lot of time that's where you get dead spots, that's where you have low pressure in general, so a lot of buildup happens there. Extrusion. Some time ago, someone came up with the disco purge method, which means really a stop-and-go kind of purging. With extrusion, you can't move the screw, so you have a little bit of a disadvantage trying to create pressure and agitation. So there are ways to maximize pressure and agitation even in an extrusion machine. One thing the disco purge means, you empty the screw and barrel of the previous resin, introduce your purge compound, and once it's coming out, stop it. Just stop the screw for a moment. Not for a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just for a moment. And then restart it. And what will happen is while that purge compound is stopped in the machine, or when you start the screw again, it's going to torque against what's sitting in the machine. So it's going to force that to start moving. So while you're extruding it out, it's moving along smoothly going through the machine. But once it stops, you've got to start it up again. And that's going to help you maximize that kind of scrubbing action. So how often do you need to do it? Depends on your process, but you can experiment with it. Try it a couple of times, see whether you need to stop it once, twice, 3 times, or perhaps not at all. Screen packs. Many companies say, oh well, I'm purging, I have to take out the screen pack now. Maybe, maybe not. The screen pack helps you create resistance to the resin going through the machine. If you've got resistance, then you've got pressure. And that's going to help maximize, again, the cleaning, scrubbing process. So you need to check clearances. If you have a very fine mesh, maybe you need to take it out, maybe not. If you can leave it in, we recommend to leave it in. After you're done with the purge and you're ready to go to the next resin, then you do your screen pack change. If your screens are too fine and you can't keep them in there, what we recommend where possible, take out the screens, put the breaker plate back in. Because at least with the breaker plate in there, you'll still have some resistance and you'll still create some extra pressure as opposed to not having anything in there at all. The die. In some cases, people have a die that's easily adjustable. They can narrow the orifice of the die. Where you can, we recommend to do so. If it's a big process that takes a long time, of course not. But again, if you can narrow that die, you can create more resistance and more pressure. Vents. If you have a vented machine, very often that's a place of contamination because, of course, that's where pressure drops. When we clean, we want to keep that pressure up. So if you have a machine where you can close the vents, you should do so. And that will help cleaning through the whole machine, but specifically in that area. And then finally, high screw speed. Again, with that material going through quickly, you're going to get more agitation, more scrubbing. I didn't mention it before, but if anybody has any questions at any time, please feel free to interrupt me. Otherwise, if you want to hold your questions to the end, that's fine too. So we talked about the 3 major uses of, or major times when you use a purge compound: color change, material change, and deposit removal. But there are a lot of other times when a purging compound is going to really help you save money and save time. Sometimes people don't really think about it, but startups, screw pulls, temperature transitions, and hot runner cleaning.